Do you ever wonder what's really going on in government, locally, in the state of Tennessee, and across the country? I'm Tennessee State Senator Bo Watson, and on Tennessee Today, we dive into the issues that shape our communities from local policy to national debates. Each episode, I break down key topics and issues, share my perspective from over 20 years in the Tennessee legislature, and talk with guests about the decisions that impact your daily life. I hope you enjoy these honest conversations and that they help you stay informed and engaged. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Tennessee Today wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Hey folks, this is Tennessee State Senator Bo Watson, and today I have a really special guest. Last podcast I had a really special guest, Newt Gingrich. Today I have an even more special guest, and I'm really intimidated by it because these are, between Newt and Marsha, these are really professional people. But today we have on the show Senator Marsha Blackburn, who has officially announced that she's running for governor of the great state of Tennessee. I'm super excited about that.
So am I.
So let me say welcome to Tennessee Today, my podcast. We'll jump right in, if you don't mind, and go ahead and start talking about putting D.C. behind us and getting back in, and let's talk about Tennessee. Now that you've announced to be governor of the great state, and I have endorsed you, what's the transition like? What are you going through right now in terms of transitioning from serving at the federal level to now serving back in state government where you cut your teeth in the Tennessee State Senate?
And thanks for having me join you today, and thank you so much for the endorsement.
Of course.
I appreciate that. And yes, it is one of those things that is sort of full circle. And as I have worked in the U.S. Senate, of course, I keep Tennessee at the top of the list. How are policies going to affect Tennessee and Tennesseans? As we look at legislation, how do you make certain that you're not passing something that's going to have an unintended consequence? So that really, Bo, it's what you have been doing to protect Tennessee and protect Tennesseans. And as President Trump has moved forward through his term, what we are seeing, he is fulfilling that promise he made that he was going to drain the swamp. And every day he is sending power and authority back to the states. And in order to cement that Trump agenda, that America First agenda, all the way down through the federal government, state government, local government, it is going to take our governors to lead that charge. So coming back is the opportunity I see to help our state reset so that as we take on healthcare, education, energy, innovation, how we deliver benefits, and that innovation, this is our shot to cement that conservative future for generations to come.
So you've been a member of a couple of really exclusive clubs. First of all, you were a member of the Tennessee State Senate, which has 33 members, which is extremely exclusive. As a member, I'd like to say that. You've also served in the U.S. House, which has 435 members.
Right.
And now you're in, at the federal level, the exclusive club of the Senate, which has 100 members. But now you're moving to go to an even more exclusive club of 50 members, 50 governors. How do you process that in your mind? I mean, how do you make that transition from going at the federal level back to the state level?
The transition and that responsibility lies in being able to build out that vision and to say, this is what we could be. And as we talked this morning with some people, I talked about a Reagan quote that I use a good bit, that the greatest leader is not the one that does great things, it's the one who can encourage people to do great things, to realize their potential, for our state to build a better future for our children and our grandchildren. So you're looking at taking these skill sets, and I think it's important for each of us to realize the skills you develop all through life, that's a transferable commodity. And you're going to use those skills of leadership, encouragement, building a plan, executing that plan, implementing the components of that plan to reach a desired goal, and having a group of people work on that together. And there's an acronym that goes back to my days in 4-H Club. It is TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. And BEST. Better every single time. And as you look at that, I used that when I was with the Southwestern Company and building a women's division of that company. And throughout my career and throughout public service, when you bring people together and you set that goal, you develop that vision, and then you execute it, you can achieve great things. And this is an opportunity for our state. Let's achieve great things and be America's conservative leader.
I love that. Of course, you have to. Now, Governor Haslam, when he was governor, and you were a part of this group back in the early 2000s, late 1990s and early 2000s, Governor Haslam referred to the legislature as 132 Afghan warlords. How do you see your experience in the legislature helping you as governor of the state?
And you know, every single member of the State House and the State Senate, they represent their constituency, and they bring to Nashville the things that they are hearing in their communities and express the desires that individuals in those communities want to see done. And what I have found as I have visited with every county in this state for the last 7 years is that people have great ideas, and they come forward and they say, why don't we try this, or why haven't we tried that, or what is it that we could do about this, that, or the other? And allowing those ideas to really get thrown into the mix and talked about, and then pushing some of those ideas into the concept stage. That's a good thing. That's healthy. Now, not all of them are going to come to be, but isn't it great that legislators feel free to come forward with Republican leadership, which we have in each chamber, to bring their ideas forward and say, let's work on this, or what can we do about this?
I think one of the great things, and the reason I'm so supportive of you is one, you've served in the legislature and you've shown leadership abilities and all of those kind of things. But really what is most impressive is that you don't have to build a relationship with the legislature. You've already done that, right?
Yes.
I mean, through your federal offices, you have maintained a connection back to both members of the House as well as members of the Senate. So I don't think there is a member in the legislature that doesn't know you. And as a member of the legislature, that's really important to us, that we have a good feel for our governor.
Yeah.
And when people come in, like one of Governor Lee's challenges was that he had not really been engaged with the legislature, and it took a year or two for us to get used to how he worked and him to get used to how we worked. With you, there won't be that learning curve. I mean, I think you have remained really engaged in state government, even though you've been serving at the federal level. And I think that gives you a really good advantage.
You know, we have felt that is so important. And as you know, so many of the state reps and state senators have joined me in my county meetings. And today I'm going to do 5 county meetings, and we're going to have state electeds in every one of those meetings. And there's an importance to that, because your local, state, and federal government representatives working together It is a team sport, and you have to work together. And how wonderful it is as we sit with county elected officials and commissions or appointees and citizens that we're hearing these questions that they have. And it may not be something that is on my responsibility list. It might be on yours. And to be able to sit there and say, well, this isn't something federally handled, it's handled by the state. And Bo can help you with that.
Yeah. Well, you've been very consistent over your entire federal career at being supportive of things, legislation and others that push things back to the local level.
Correct.
Even with the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill.
Right.
I mean, a lot of that, many of us on the state side were cheering many aspects of that because a lot of responsibilities that have been at the federal level are being pushed back to the states, where those of us in state government would say that's where it was supposed to be in the first place.
That's right.
And I think, again, your consistent support of those kind of things gives you an advantage coming back into state government that you've already kind of worked on many of these things in different ways.
Well, we have. And take, for example, the U.S. Department of Education. I have been saying they have no business doing student loans. Well, student loans are now being handled by the SBA and the private sector. That's appropriate. You look at the Department of Education sending the money and the authority back to the states. I was talking with a classroom teacher at church, and they said, hallelujah, I'm tired of federally mandated paperwork. So let's get that out of here. You look at what we're doing with rural health care, and this is a great area where we can innovate. And I worked diligently in that big, beautiful bill to get a rural hospital incentive fund. And it is money that will go every year to rural hospitals, but also there's an innovation fund. Half of that fund is going to go to innovation. We in Tennessee know how to innovate in healthcare and healthcare delivery. And this is going to be the opportunity for us to increase what we are doing in innovation and say, how do we increase access to affordable health care for more people, for more of our citizens? You look at the Big Beautiful Bill and how it moves away from the Green New Deal, and then it looks at energy innovation and getting the cost of energy down. That is very good for Oak Ridge and for the opportunities we have in energy innovation. And Bo, just like at the state level, you're watching what is transpiring there as you chair that finance committee, and you're thinking, how does this affect my district? I look at things at the federal level, and I say, how is this going to affect my state? And as we have that debate, through the years, what I've done is to call you all and say, what's this going to do to the state? How is this going to impact the state? I've worked with the governor on those things. Many times I've called directors of school or county mayors and say, we're looking at a provision here. Talk to me about this. And you learn a lot more from listening than you do talking.
Yeah.
And
and that's really so true. So while we're talking about Oak Ridge and energy and all those kind of things, which, the state has invested, in small nuclear reactors. We're trying to drive that into our economy. And you've been a real leader in both the energy space, but really the new emerging technology. It's not really new, but it's just emerging and advancing so quickly.
That's right.
AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
I passed legislation that created an AI council, which is a joint effort between both the executive branch and the legislative branch in looking at how does Tennessee wrestle with this AI issue. And first of all, I got to say thank you to you for removing the 10-year moratorium from the Big Beautiful Bill.
Yes.
We had put in a 2 years worth of really hard work, and to read that in the bill, go, oh my gosh, that's we've worked so hard at states regulation and state control, and to have that removed. So thank you for doing that. And again, just another example of where you recognize the important role that state government plays. But let's talk a little bit about AI. A lot of people are fearful of AI. On the other side of the equation, a lot of us want to see, hey, we think there's a lot of economy in AI. We want to be sure that it protects the privacy of our citizens and we don't allow it to do things that none of us would want it to do. But tell me about your role and what you've been doing around artificial intelligence.
Oh, indeed. And yes, looking at these emerging technologies, whether it's quantum, and I've done a roundtable a couple of years ago. I did a roundtable here in Chattanooga on quantum, and it was incredibly successful. A lot of companies are coming into the Chattanooga area because Chattanooga is commercializing an open source quantum network.
And for our listeners, quantum is another technology platform that actually allows for more speed because it can handle much more data than the current system.
That's correct.
I
the
liken
data
it,
processing.
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
liken it to, we've got an 8-lane interstate and quantum is a 32-lane interstate.
There you go. That's a great example. And of course, Oak Ridge is doing a good bit of work in this. So we've got to have the energy to run quantum networks, and I'm leading the quantum initiative in the U.S. Senate and getting that put back in place, and some sandboxes that we can test some near-term technologies for quantum applications, and looking at defense utilizations because there's research being done on that at Oak Ridge. Then the rails that quantum applications are going to use, or the rails that AI applications are going to use, is quantum. And being able to utilize AI in a positive manner is going to require some foundational elements. First among that is a federally preemptive privacy standard, so that we have one uniform online privacy standard around the country, so that individuals do exactly what you're talking about. They know that their data, their information is going to be safe, and it's not going to be harvested or scraped and used to train large language models. So putting that barrier in place so that you, the individual, have the ability to protect what I call your virtual you, which is your presence online. And so many of us do so much of our transactional life online that you want that privacy standard. So if somebody comes in and scrapes your data, you can go after them, and there is recourse for you so that you can remove that. And then utilization and expansion of AI is going to require data hubs. And as you scoop up all this data, you're going to have what are called hyperscalers, which are the data hubs. And that, again, is going to require more energy. Therefore, we're needing, with the micro reactors and the SMR, small modular reactors, we need to escalate our development of that. Now, when we look at the applications of AI, when you talk about logistics, when you talk about healthcare, predictive diagnoses, disease analysis, some remote monitoring and remote surgery capabilities. When you look at advanced manufacturing capabilities and jobs that are going to be advanced manufacturing jobs, which are, Stuart McWhorter is doing a great job recruiting these into the state. You look at it and you say, these are not just jobs, these are careers. And people can have such productive careers. So you want to make certain that you are going to be able to allow these good growth provisions to take place. At the same time, protecting name, image, likeness, voice of all of our entertainers and singers and songwriters and performers and podcasters and preachers and online sales trainers or human resource trainers. You want to be able that they have the ability to protect their stock and trade. And we have legislation that is bipartisan. Senator Coons and I are working on it. We call it the No Fakes Bill. It's very similar. I know
we had
the
the Elvis Act,
right,
Mhm.
which was kind of built off of that first version of No Fakes. But we want people that utilize and work off of the virtual space to be able to put that barrier up and say no to AI or large language models that are going in and scooping all of this. Tennessee should be a leader here. The state of Tennessee, I am thrilled that you all did an AI council to look at this, because you say, okay, as we look at rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, it creeps into every bureaucracy. How do we use AI applications to simplify processes and to root out fraud and to be constantly right-sizing government at the state level? And you all are already a step ahead of that. That is a great way for us to use those findings and apply it to state government and say, let's do more with less for the great people of Tennessee, and we can make Tennessee America's conservative leader.
Well, you're going to be familiar with doing more with less, because you're going to be coming back to a state which has to balance its budget.
That's exactly
every
right.
year, and so we
Thank
have to
goodness.
yes, thank goodness. And
Yeah.
we work closely with the administration, the legislature does, when we're putting together the final budget document. And one of the big challenges is there's always more that can be done, but
Right.
we have to choose which resources we can utilize. So
Right.
I look forward to working with you on that. Last thing for today, and that is your election to governor will be historic in that you would be the first woman to serve as governor of our great state. I don't think you plan to make that any kind of campaign issue, because I just don't see that being your style. But I do think it's really important that we talk about that, because there'll be a lot of young women who will be looking at you as a role model for their aspirational goals. How do you respond to that? How do you feel about that?
Well, I like to tell people I'm the most well-qualified person for the job. And I have the best set of conservative credentials. I have the best record of delivering for the people of Tennessee, whether I've been at the state or the federal level. I have always delivered. And this is going to be a great opportunity to once again deliver for Tennesseans. As I look at my kids and grandkids and I think, what is their Tennessee going to look like? I want to make certain that we are the number one place for jobs and careers. And I want to make certain that we're the number one place in the country to live, to work, to have that career, to rear that family, and to have those kids come back home and work in the community. Everybody wants their kids to be close.
Yeah, but it does have to be pretty awesome to be the first at something, right? I mean, to be the first woman to be governor, that's got to be really cool.
You know what? I look at it as breaking barriers, and we've had. It's been important to break barriers and open doors of opportunity for all Tennesseans, but indeed for women. And when I was in the state Senate, I was the only Republican female in the state Senate, and worked hard to elect other women to both the House and the Senate. I went to Congress, and I was the only female in the delegation, and worked hard to open those doors of opportunity. And I think that it is important to make certain that those barriers are knocked down, and that people can dream those big dreams and make them come true.
Do you ever reflect on the level of accomplishment that you've had? I mean, I was thinking about this before doing this podcast. I was thinking about all the things that you have achieved. And I know you're forward-looking, right? I mean, if you're going to be governor, when you're governor, governors have to be forward-looking, and I get that.
Yeah.
But are there not moments when you stop and go, wow, I've had an amazing run?
Well, I've had amazing opportunity and amazing doors that were open. But see, you got to be a little bit bold in that. And selling books door to door, working my way through college doing that. They didn't hire women. And how much fun was that?
I don't know. How much fun was that?
Let me tell you, it was awesome. I loved it, working on straight commission, 80 hours a week, and then going back to school after that summer, and then recruiting women to come work with me, developing a process where we could be bringing women into the company and working on products that would create a women's division and shifting that focus and building that division. That was awesome. I loved doing that. And there are so many opportunities that you get. I tell women all the time, don't wait to be invited to the table. Pull your chair up and take your seat and weigh in, because we make better decisions when we consider a variety of viewpoints in that discussion as you arrive at a decision. And I think that opportunity for women in Tennessee is incredible. When you talk about young women who are looking for a place to start their career, look at the companies that are coming here, the amount of opportunity that exists. I think this is a great time.
That's awesome. Well, as a brother of 4 older sisters, I can tell you that I appreciate maybe more than most the power of women. So I'm really excited for you. I know you're out on the campaign trail, and I know it's going to be a lot of hard work. But I really feel confident for the state that you will provide a steady hand of leadership. And, from a selfish perspective, I think you'll work very well with the legislature, and that's really important to us. So thank you for taking time out of your campaign to be on my podcast. I really appreciate it. Well, we'll probably have you back a couple of more times.
Good. We've got lots to talk about.
Yeah, so this has been Tennessee State Senator Bo Watson on Tennessee Today, and we'll see you next time.